Hey everybody, welcome to another Habs History Series video, and today we're going to look at Guy Lafleur and his career, and he's my favorite player of all time. I always call him my hockey idol, and he's also known as the Flower for the English fans, and Le Diamant Blanc for the French fans. In general, they call him that for the means the blonde demon because he had blonde hair, and his hair was always flying in the wind as he would skate. So Guy Lafleur. So I'm going to tell you about his accomplishments, go over his record, his points record, and all that. And that's all right here at Talking Habs, the home of Habs hockey, where everything is dedicated to the Habs and all things hockey. So if you're a Habs fan and you want to see videos like this where I talk about older things, and when I do talk about newer things, and I do game reviews and previews and stuff like that, then head right down there and subscribe. Ring that notifications bell. That's going to get you your daily fix of Blue, Blanc, Rouge from me at Talking Habs. And while you're on the way down there to do that, please give a thumbs up if you like the video. And any comments you may have also down there about Guy Lafleur and about this video, any comments you may have in the comment section. I do read all my comments. So Guy Lafleur, he was my favorite player. He came into the league pretty much when I started to really seriously follow hockey. I was about 7 or 8 years old. And, he came into the league when I was 8. I started really seriously at 7. So it was the beginning of my young hockey life. The first player I really fell in love with was Tony Esposito. And he was here for 13 games. They traded him to Chicago. And I loved the guy. I don't know why exactly. And then I found Guy Lafleur. And there was nobody else after Guy Lafleur. That was my favorite player. So that's many years. I've been a Habs fan for 50 years, so it's a long time that he's been my favorite player. Now, Guy Lafleur was drafted with very high expectations, and they even made a trade in order to secure that pick. What they did was they made a trade to get the pick, Oakland Seals' first pick, which Sam Pollock pretty much figured Oakland would finish last in the league. And he had his eye on Guy Lafleur and Marcel Dionne, one of the two. So he made that trade, and then it looked like that Oakland might not. There was a point where he was afraid that Oakland might not finish last and that LA might drop farther down. So he traded, I don't know if he was a center or a wing, but Ralph Backstrom to the LA Kings in the hopes of keeping LA ahead of Oakland. And it worked because even though LA was actually ahead of 3 or 4 teams, not just Oakland, Sam Pollock must have known or had that feeling that LA would drop down, and they did. They dropped down to finish a little bit ahead of Oakland, but he didn't know that Pittsburgh would also drop down and finish 1 point behind LA, but still ahead of Oakland, and that's what matters. So there's some that say that it's a bit of a myth, but it's not. This is what he hoped to do. He just didn't know that Pittsburgh would drop down as well. So in the end, he got what he wanted, the first overall pick in 1971 draft. And for that, he picked Guy Lafleur. Apparently, there was a big debate about whether he should pick Lafleur or Dionne, and he picked Lafleur. Now, there's a story in the new book by Ken Dryden about Scotty Bowman that they actually could have gotten both players, and for some reason that I don't know right now, but when I do get my hands on the book after I'm able to go to the library and get it or go to the store and get it, I'll do a video on that. But apparently they decided not to have the 2 players, and they decided on Lafleur. I don't know. If it were me, I kind of would have probably taken them both. Imagine Dionne at the same time as Lafleur, and that was a great team, and Dionne was a great hockey player. And it's too bad for Dionne because he could have won a few cups. But so that's how they got Guy Lafleur. Now, in Guy Lafleur's first 3 seasons, he was wearing a helmet, and he wasn't really producing the way the team had hoped. Although he had 64 points in his first season, 55 and 56 or 56, 55, something like that, 55, 56. So decent numbers for a young guy, hockey player in his first 3 seasons. But on the other side, Marcel Dionne with the Detroit Red Wings was kind of leading the team in scoring. So there was a lot of pressure and very high expectations on Lafleur. So so he was kind of struggling with that. Although, like I said, still doing okay. Then he took his helmet off. So by the 74-75 season, Lafleur came into his own. He removed the helmet, and he started putting up the big numbers. And this was the first season of it. 53 goals, 66 assists for 119 points. It was the first of 6 50-plus goal, 100-plus point seasons, and it was also the first player ever in the NHL to put up 6 seasons like that in a row. Let's see what else I got here. But this the streak did come to an end in 1980, 79-80. No, okay, I didn't read my. They also won 4 Stanley Cups in a row as a team. They won in 1973. They said, I read that he was a cornerstone. I don't know if he was a cornerstone of that team, but definitely the 4 in a row from 1976 to 79, he definitely was. And the Cup streak came to an end in 79-80 when they couldn't advance past the Minnesota North Stars. And they had Guy Lafleur on the sidelines with an injury, and they just couldn't advance far enough into the playoffs to make the finals, and that streak came to an end. That was after also Ken Dryden had left, Jacques Lemaire had left, I believe Yvon Cornway, and Scotty Bowman had all left after the previous season, the last Stanley Cup win. So it wasn't the same team. Guy Lafleur was injured in the playoffs, and they didn't. They just couldn't do it, and I believe the Islanders started their first of 4 in a row. So now I just added a lot to that, so I got to find my spot. So, and in 1980-81, the scoring streak of 6 seasons in a row also came to an end. An injury-plagued season. He played only 51 games. He still did manage to get, I believe, 70-odd points. And if you look at the pace, if he played his normal 80-game schedule, it would have been close on goals to hit 50 because he only had 27, but he would have hit 100 points for sure. But he might have hit and continued that streak to 7. But he didn't because of injury, so it doesn't matter. An injury would happen the next 2 seasons after that, where he would score in those 3, 27, 27, and 27, didn't get beyond that. And that would be the end of the once dominating Guy Lafleur, Le Blanc Diamant, or Le Mont Blanc, I always say it the wrong way, and the Flower. And he would give away kind of, to Mike Bossy with the Islanders in their 4 Cups in a row streak, and the emerging Wayne Gretzky, obviously, and later Mario Lemieux. So in the 1984-85 season, under Coach Jacques Lemaire, and now Coach Jacques Lemaire, that means a very restrictive defensive style of hockey. So for an offensive player, wasn't known for his defense, Lafleur wasn't doing very well. In the first 19 games, he had only 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points, and he was not happy. He went to Serge Savard, asked for a trade. Savard did not trade him, did not want to, and I mean, you want to trade Guy Lafleur? It was like, look what happened when they traded Patrick Roy. You don't live that down. Guy Lafleur, same thing. So he didn't, and then Guy Lafleur said he's got no other option, and he retired. And that wouldn't last forever. He would come back, but he retired in the 84-85 season with horrible numbers, a horrible way for a great hockey player like that to go out, but that's what he chose to do. So he later unretired, and he returned for 1 season with the Rangers, and then 2 seasons with the hated Quebec Nordiques. But it made sense, Quebec, because his junior days were in Quebec, the Quebec Junior Aces and the Quebec Remparts. So definitely had ties there, so you couldn't really blame him. But it was really weird to see him in a Rangers or Nordiques uniform. That was just a little too weird. Then oddly, I didn't know this, but I just found this out researching for this. The Minnesota North Stars selected him with the 20th and the last pick of the 1991 expansion draft. I don't remember what the expansion was. Why Minnesota? I remember Minnesota, they had merged with, I think, the Kansas City Scouts way back, and I don't know what happened here. Is that when they went to Dallas? I don't remember. So I don't remember what happened there. It couldn't have been when they went to Dallas. So he decided not to, didn't want to go there, and he retired for the second time after 3 seasons. It's not like he played full seasons, but 3 partial seasons after unretiring. So he would go on to work in an off-ice capacity for the Nordiques, but it was a complicated thing because Minnesota had gotten his rights, I guess, by drafting him, and the Nordiques had to trade something over there to get back Guy's rights, because at the time you couldn't work in the front office for a team that didn't hold your rights. So Minnesota held his rights. He would have had to go there to work. So that they worked it out, and he went to work for Quebec. And at that point, he was still feuding. He was kind of feuding with Montreal for not trading him, not treating him right at the end. And he was having a feud with Montreal that would last a little while. Yeah, I said, and it would last until, I don't remember the year, but I wrote here, kissing and making up with Montreal management many years later anyway. So now he owns a restaurant in St. Jerome, and he's still part of Montreal's hockey community. That they go to him for his opinion, and you see him around doing things and stuff like that. I want to say the end of last summer, somewhere around in the winter, beginning of winter, he went to the doctor for something, and they discovered that he had needed a quadruple bypass. And like immediately, and he went within a day or two. He was operated on successfully. He is still recovering because it takes a long time to fully recover from that, but it was successful. He's doing well. Last I had heard, I didn't hear anything else about it except that he was recovering well, and that's where we have it. So we're going to go to the boards, take a look at his accomplishments in the NHL. We'll go over his scoring record pretty quickly. I won't go over it every year, but we're going to do that because I talked a lot about him. He's my favorite player. Can you tell? He's my favorite player. So I'll be right back. All right, so there's a lot of stuff on this board, so we'll get to it fast. So Guy Damien Lafleur, that's his whole name. Number 10, retired. Born September 20th, 1951. He's 68 years old, from Thurso, Quebec. That's up near Thetford Mines, I believe. And it's in northern. He was 6 feet, 185 pounds in his playing days. A right winger, first overall pick in 1971. So as I said, in 1970, they traded Backstrom to LA to secure that first overall pick in 71. Guy. We used to hear that when he touched the puck. Guy. The flower, the Dimont Blanc. You'd hear that Guy. You'd hear that all the time. See, my dog is agreeing with that, right, Ray? He's a 5-time Stanley Cup champion, 6 straight 50-plus goals, 100-plus points. As I said before, first ever in the NHL. Oh, okay, so we're back because I did the whole thing and just realized as I'm turning it off that I didn't have it on. So we're going to go over everything I did before. Guy Damien Lafleur, number 10. Number 10, the best number. September 20th, 1951 was when he was born. 68 years old right now. He was born in Thurso, Quebec, which is up near Thetford Mines. It's up north somewhere. He was 6 feet, 185 pounds when he played. He's a right winger, shoots right, and first overall pick in 1971. In 1970, as I said earlier, they traded Ralph Backstrom to LA so that they would stay ahead and all that. The chance of Guy. If you're a Habs fan, especially living in Montreal, you will remember that. Guy. Almost every time he touched the puck, especially in the offensive zone, with his blonde hair flying back. I mean, the Dimont Blanc, that's where it comes from. Blonde hair flying back. And chance of Guy. The flower, Le Dimont Blanc. 5-time Stanley Cup champion, 1973, in his third year, I guess, second or third year, and second year, I think. And then the 4 straight from 76 to 79. 6 straight 50-plus goals, 100-plus points. First time ever to do that in the NHL. All-time Montreal leader in points and assists, and second in goals. Not bad, Guy. All-time leader in points, 1,246. I didn't write down how many games that was, but it's on the other side. I just didn't write it here. The other board, I mean. That's 518 goals and 728 assists to get there. NHL points leader in 1976, 77, and 78. Tied for goals in a season with Steve Shutt. That's for Montreal, with 60. That was his best. Team record points in the season, 136. 1,000 points in 720 games. He was the fastest at the time that he did it. He was the fastest, first player to get it that fast. Fastest at the time, whatever you want to say. Hall of Fame in 1988. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1988. And the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame in 1996. Second only of 3 players to return to playing after being elected to the Hall of Fame. First one was Gordie Howe, and the next one, or the third one, was after him, after Lafleur, Mario Lemieux. Only 3 players ever to do that, and it hasn't happened since Lemieux. Number 11 on the Hockey News' list of 100 greatest hockey players in 1998, and then named one of the 100 greatest NHLers in 2017. That's by the NHL. They did that. The winner of the Art Ross Trophy in 1976, 77, 78. The Hart Memorial, 77, 78. The Lester B. Pearson, 76, 77, 78. Now, I'm not sure. The Hart is like most valuable player. The Art Ross, I think, is for scoring. I'm not sure what the Lester B is. Conn Smythe Trophy winner only one time in 1977. And the Lou Marsh Award in 1977, I think that's a sports writer's award. I'm not positive. But he won it, and I put it there. So now, I'm going to click off. I'm going to change boards. I see that. I actually was filming this time, so I'll be right back. There, I'm back. Now, I know it's a little small, but I won't go over everything, just some key. Now, he was in his QMJHL 2 seasons that he played for the Quebec Remparts from in 1969-70 and 70-71. I think that's what it was. He played 118 games. He scored 233 goals with 146 assists. He would later become a much better playmaker than just a goal scorer in his NHL days. You can tell by the assists. And that's a whopping 379 points in just 2 seasons. So definitely sign of a great player. Montreal had their eyes on him. I don't know Marcel Dion's numbers, but they must have been similar. And it was between the 2 players that they were going to take. In his first season, like I said, he had 64 points, 29 goals. And you can see in his first 3 seasons, 29, 28, and then 21 goals. He was struggling a bit, as his numbers even came down pretty much. They did win a cup in his second season. And then, magically delicious, in 1974-75, and we all, as Canadiens fans, and that was the talk I know from people I talked to as a young man. I guess I was 11 or 12. And the fact that he took his helmet off the season that things took off for him. So we always attributed that taking the helmet off made a difference for Guy Lafleur. It probably meant nothing, but it was just maybe a coincidence, but that's what happened. He took the helmet off, points started to roll in. He had 53 goals, and 66 assists for 119 points in 70 games. So we'll just go over those seasons there. Next season was 80 games, 56 goals, 69 assists, 125 points, and the Stanley Cup. 80 games the next season, 56, 80, 136. That's the best for his points total and the best for his assists. And the Stanley Cup. Next year, 78 games, 60 goals. That's his best in goals. 72 assists, 132 points. Stanley Cup. Next year, 80 games, 52 goals, 77 assists, 129 points. Stanley Cup. Then everybody left. And I mean everybody. There were 4 main people that left. You got Dryden left, Cornway left, and Lemaire left. And Bowman left. And Pollock left. So then we had a new idiot GM. I can't say that enough, that he was an idiot GM. I'm going to do a video talking about French and English and GMs and coaches and stuff. And I have his name in there. It escapes me at the moment. He was an idiot GM. Did I say that already? I don't know if I said it. But if I didn't, he was an idiot GM. Horrible. Just horrible. So that was his last season with the big numbers, 79-80, 74 games, 50 goals, 75 assists, 125 points. And I find it interesting that you see numbers, how they went up. His first 100-point season, better. Then he started the drop-off. A little less. Now, In 80-81, you see 51 games. He had 27 goals, 43 assists, 70 points. I do believe, and so does Ray, and so does Ray. Hang on a second now. Now, Ray definitely agreed with that point, but she's going to stop. She'll probably start up again. But you can see that 70 points. If he had played another 29 games, he's getting way more than a point a game. He would have hit 100 points. Now, the 27 goals, that means he needed 23 to get it in 29 games. He might not have hit that. He might not have, but he'd have gotten 100 points. But he might have got both. So anyways, the drop-off, not a full drop-off because still 66 games, still at 84 points, then 76, then 70. And then Jacques Lemaire was, we all know, the trap, all that. He played a different style, didn't suit Lafleur. They should have traded him. As hard as we would have taken it, what was been fair to Guy Lafleur would have been to say, okay, we can trade you somewhere. And that's what they should have done. He wouldn't have retired for those 3 years. He would have finished. He would have. It was sad. It was sad to see him have to be. I don't know. I don't know where they would have traded him to, but he really deserved to be traded and to continue his career, not to be forced to retire. Anyway, came back with the Rangers for one season, 67 games, 18 goals, 27 assists, 45 points. Looked promising. I guess he had some injury problems with the Nordiques first year, 39 games, 12 goals, 22 assists, 34 points. Still close to a point a game. And then I think he figured it out the last season. 59 games, 28 points. He was done. 1,126 games in his career, 560 goals, 793 assists for 1,353 points total. In the playoffs, he had 128 playoff games, 58 goals, 76 assists, 134 points. For me, the greatest Montreal Canadiens player to don the uniform. You can argue it. Definitely it's arguable. You can put Maurice Richard there. You can put Jean Beliveau there. I don't think you may be able to make an argument for Doug Harvey, and that's it. Nobody else that you could put in his class. He was, for me, the best. His numbers proved it. He was just a great player, and he was dominant. He was just a great player. I loved him growing up. Maybe my age had something to do with it. He's only 11 years older than me, so it's not like I was a young kid, but he was great, and I loved him. I still do. I idolize him as a hockey player. I wish I could. I had a chance once to meet him, and I kind of blew it. He was sitting right across from me at the license bureau, and I couldn't decide it was him or not him. And then we went to the window where he had just left, and I asked, and they said, yeah, that was him. And I could have talked to him for a good probably 20 minutes. I'm sure there was nobody else talking there. I could have done it. And yeah, don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity. So when you do see it, take advantage of it. That's what I'm going to do next time. So there you go. There's my video on Guy Lafleur. Give a thumbs up if you liked the video. I've wanted to do one of these for so long, and I just didn't know if I could do it well enough that I liked it. And then it just kind of hit me, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I'm kind of happy with it. I hope you are too. So thumbs up if you liked the video. Head down there, and while you're doing that, subscribe, ring the notifications bell. Going to get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge right here at Talking Habs. And please leave any comments about Guy Lafleur, about my video in the comment section below. I do read them all. And thanks for watching, everybody. And go Habs, go. And everybody, please be safe and healthy. Stay inside. Wash your hands. Let's get through this. Bye, y'all.